Today, we're going to find out if Richard Taylor is a closer. So, as you guys know, for the past 6, 7, 8 months, I've been doing these King Closer React series. It's been a ton of fun. But the biggest hurdle with creating these videos is finding people that actually post live seller calls. I thought this would be much more prevalent inside of our industry, but it's really not. And today, I feel like we found a diamond in the rough. So my team said they kind of checked out this video. They said it was really good. Richard has a YouTube channel that has about 23,000 subscribers, and he prides himself on making creative finance offers. So like sub 2 mainly, I think is kind of his thing. He finds properties that are listed. He then searches on PropStream to see what the mortgage balance is in comparison to the listing price, and then he calls and he actually pitches the sub 2 offers to the listing agent. So this is going to be a very unique King Closer React. So I'm excited for this. So without further ado, let's bring up Mr. Richard Taylor.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, good.
Hi guys, how we doing?
Good. So I was just actually I did get your email. I think we might have exchanged some emails as well, but I'll let you guys talk and let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious though, are you guys co-listing this one together, or am I speaking to a buyer's agent as well?
So no. So they're my clients. I refer them to Jimmy because he works in that area, but my clients call me quite a bit just for, I don't know, they'll just run everything by me. So, because I also do a little bit of commercial, and I've seen some of, how the subject 2 works.
Oh, really?
When they're just on the call. So.
Commercial, huh? How?
So real quick, one of the things I will say is he appears to be very comfortable on the phone, and this is a 3-way conversation, I believe. I like how he kind of slowed everything down. A lot of times, when we're presenting an offer or talking about an offer that we have already made, which it sounds like he's already presented an offer to them. Now he's calling to follow up on it or have a conversation with the listing agents about that. We have a tendency to just kind of bulldoze the conversation, dive into it. I like how he really slowed it down and said, who am I speaking with? Are y'all co-listing this? Or is there a buyer's rep here? I do like that part of it. And then now you could hear he's like commercial. I'm curious where he's taking this, but again, it feels like he's just trying to slow down the conversation here early on. So I do like where he's started.
How's the commercial going? I'm not in that side at all. I honestly know nothing about it.
It's busy.
It's busy. Are those like 4 or 5 months to close, or they close typically in 30 days as well?
They won't close in 30 days, but we can do some in 60, depending on the lending.
And is it mostly like storefronts, warehouses? I'm sorry, I know this is off track. I'm just on the other side of things, and whenever I hear about it, I have to ask.
So my opinion on what he's doing right here, this is more of kind of an ego stroke for this agent who's just said, I'm not in the single family. I'm mainly in commercial. This is more like to stroke her ego and be like, oh, you're in the commercial space. I don't know anything about that. Tell me more about that. What's that like? I don't think he really cares too much about it. This is just kind of to placate, build a little bit of rapport. And also, like I always say, anytime you get the other person on the other end of the line to talk and open up, it makes them feel important and they enjoy the conversation. People love to talk. And they specifically love to talk about themselves and what they do. So this is a pretty smart move by Richard here.
Yeah,
I couldn't care less. I'm building rapport. I don't give a fuck.
And then got team members that do a lot of like tenant rep and stuff.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So, on this one, I was just absolutely fascinated by this. If this isn't the highest renting 350K house I have ever seen, is this just an insanely desirable area here?
I mean, Jimmy, I don't know if you want to talk to that, but in my opinion, the area, when they bought it, there was a couple of people. We went into a bidding war when they did buy it, and I think the reason it's not really selling is because they're living in the property and they do have some special needs, so they can't really keep the property show ready, and some buyers just can't see past other people's stuff. I really think that's the only reason.
For sure. And to speak on the area, yes, it's in. I mean, there's 3 premier neighborhoods in this town, and this is one of them.
Wow.
So one thing I will say, just side note nation, to quote my partner Cassie, if you are a drink company and you're looking to sponsor someone's YouTube channel, maybe you should check out Richard's channel. He is doing a great job with his drink, bringing attention to it, keeping that label front facing. Drink companies, sponsor Richard Taylor's YouTube channel. Give the man his due right there. I mean, look at him. He looks like he's a natural at it. Like, look at the label. The other thing is now that he transitioned away from, stroking the realtor's ego, the real estate agent. I don't know if they're a realtor. The real estate agent's ego there and building that rapport about talking about the commercial. Good transition, and then immediately kind of complimenting the house, bringing up the price point of $350,000, and then finding out more. He says the highest renting property, the highest rented $350,000 house. So I don't know what he means by that. I hope he kind of explains it. Sometimes it's hard inside of live calls, but I hope we find out a little bit more about what that rent rate is or what he's meaning by that.
Yeah, I saw the rent and I was like, I ain't no way a $350K house like this is rented out for $3,500 per month. I mean, I typically see $1,800, maybe a good one at $2,600, but this thing blew them all out of the water, which is why we were willing to pay so much to enter this one. So I think we actually went over list price on this one, and we had actually offered $395,000. So good news for you agents here. Your commission's actually going to come out of the elevated offer on this.
And Paulina, I just forwarded you the email just so you can have something to reference while we're on the phone.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, so I think we were when we initially called on this, I guess we were told, or maybe it was relayed to us, that some of the offers that were coming in weren't making the seller a whole lot of money. And my thought was not the area, and I guess there's this thing with the stuff in the property, but more so interest rates being at 7%. If you look up how much money people make in 27858, it's not really nearly enough to qualify for a 7% interest rate mortgage, even if you're amongst the well-off individuals. So I'm thinking this is just a victim of the Federal Reserve on this, and I don't think it has anything to do with the property, location, anything like that, because it's excellent. But I was baffled by the days on market on this and the fact that it was still available. So we came in competitive with that.
First of all, kudos to him for the research that he did there on the income levels inside the zip code. I've never heard someone do that before. And it's a great explanation as to why maybe the property is not selling. That was next level. That was extremely powerful right there.
Sort of mindset, offering that $395,000 on this. And I think the way that we were going to get that accomplished was we were going to go ahead and give them $30,000 cash on top of their mortgage here. So we're just offering to take over their position and then balloon them out for another amount later. So not only are they probably going to profit more on the sale than they would have normally, but they're also going to get an additional balloon for $40,000 on year 6 here.
Okay, so very interesting offer. Sub 2, so buying the property subject to the existing mortgage. Total price $395,000, $30,000 down, and then a 6-year balloon on the remaining $40,000. So was that that's 70? So they must owe $325,000, and then he's giving them $70,000. I'm curious if we'll get into this, if that $30,000 pays the realtor commissions, if that includes closing costs, or if the closing cost is on top of that $30,000. Interesting. Very creative way to present that, specifically with the $40,000 on the 6-year balloon. I wish I could pick his brain a little bit on kind of his thought process on how that he gets that accomplished. If that's just something that he plans on paying off with the rent over those 6 years, or if there's a refi that he does in 6 years, why is it 6 years? But creative offer made, like how he presented it. Very well composed, very well spoken, very easy to understand as well.
Okay, so you're hoping to hold the note or for them to hold the note or to have it in their name and for 6 years. That's basically when you're going to buy them out.
Exactly. So what I'm proposing here is we take over the position in the mortgage for $70,000. That puts our total purchase around $395,000. And the way that we're looking at doing that is $30,000 in cash plus closing costs on top of that. Those should be around $4,000 or $5,000 there. We'll cover that. And then on year 6, we sell the property and give them an additional windfall of cash, $40,000 right there.
Okay. So, and I think we can explain that to them. Obviously, I know he was a little concerned about, hey, what if I want to go buy, a house or a thing too in about a year?
Okay. This is like one of the number one objections for sub-2 offers. Okay, I'm cool with selling my house sub-2, but what happens when I want to go buy a house a year from now, 3 years from now, anytime inside of that 6-year balloon, and this mortgage is still in my name? How do I overcome that? I'm curious to see how Richard's going to overcome this objection, because this is probably the number one objection to selling a house sub-2.
2 years. I know, and actually Jimmy's a lender, so he'll probably go to speak to this a little bit more, but I know with clients that I've worked with, as long as they can show they have not made a single payment in 12 years.
Or months,
sorry. And
yeah.
They can get taken, they're basically their financial liability, is that correct?
Yeah. So if you go to the Fanny May selling guide, obviously you guys know Fanny May here, but debts paid by others can be taken off of the debt to income ratio, allowing you to get a new loan on this. And honestly, it says 12 months, but it's kind of like, it's kind of just a stipulation there. And most loan underwriters will do it with just a contract. So we have a whole portfolio of these properties around the United States, and I hear that every single time. So what we do is we go ahead and we put the property in a trust, and we purchase the trust from the seller. And typically when we own that trust and we bought it from the seller and the property is inside of the trust, we're able to get it off of their debt to income ratio on month 1. And then we have an even firmer case on that when we go ahead and put a tenant in that property who's confirming the mortgage payments for us. So they're almost double protected in that state.
What a absolute masterclass explanation of how to get a sub-2 off of the seller's debt to income ratio. And what I would say more than anything is how comfortable he was. You could see that this is a pitch, I guess is the best way to say it, that he has delivered many times over again. Very comfortable. I love how he even started it with, you could go to the Fannie Mae website. You guys know about Fannie Mae. Again, kind of reassuring them that he's not trying to be a know-it-all. He's giving them their flowers, saying, you guys are knowledgeable, but I just want to reiterate and make sure that we're all on the same page, that Fannie Mae says this, and then he delivers it. That was expertly done. Great job, man.
Okay, and I think their plan is to lease for about a year anyway, so they should be okay for at least a year. Obviously, we don't want to advise them to get into a situation where they're stuck renting, right, when they could be buying. But, it sounds about what I've seen before. That was really my biggest question is, exactly when the balloon would be, because they do want to be able to kind of see an end in mind.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm thinking here is we have 3 rate declines planned from the Federal Reserve for this year. I personally believe at least 2 of those will happen. I think the third one probably 2025. But those rate declines should put us around 6%, maybe 6.5%. I'm thinking that your clients probably won't want to double the interest rate they have on this loan right now and get a new mortgage. The good news is that timeline lines up with when interest rates should be hopefully sub 6% again 1 year from today. I'd like to see 5.9. I'm hoping that's a reality. But interest rates, again, higher than they've been in 20 years right now. So I'm thinking they would probably want to wait anyways while getting this off their debt-to-income ratio.
Yeah, I think that they're going to. Jimmy, are you kind of thinking the same thing with interest rates?
Well, that's exactly true. We are hopeful that rates do start trending back in a better direction, but I do feel like it's going to be an 18 months of still just up and down and people getting used to the new normal, which is going to be, between 5 and 6% for sure. So anything sub 5 is a fairy tale now.
Oh my God, we'll never see it again. We'll never see it again. It's a shame. It's a shame.
I was telling him that because he was like, "Well, when do you think we can get back to like 2 and 3?" And I was like, "Never."
Oh my God. You had to have that conversation with them, and they're just like, "Look, let me sit you down. Let me get you a glass of water before I break the news to you."
Yeah, no, and I have had so many people miss out because they're waiting for rates to come down or for property values to come down. I'm like, well, not in this area. I mean,
so I really like where he's taking the direction of this conversation right now. He's kind of on their same level. They're seeing eye to eye on what's happening with interest rates and property values and the market in general. This is really good because technically speaking, he doesn't get the opportunity to present this offer to the sellers himself. So he needs these two individuals to be on his team and to fight for this to be an offer that gets accepted. And he's doing a great job right now of building that rapport, building that trust and credibility with the two agents. I really like how he's kind of managed this entire conversation. I mean, we are 8.5 minutes in on this conversation, and it's been pretty damn perfect at this point.
No,
good luck.
Yeah, I'm like, not at all in this area. So they know that, and they're pretty savvy, and they will listen to whatever we advise. But just because, for the same reason I just said, we don't want to set them up to be stuck with it. But I think that the 6 years are probably good. And I did explain the fact that it'll fall off their credit. It won't hurt them after the 12 months. But we just wanted to have this conversation with you.
Of course, and then
with this one, another reason I wanted to have Pauline on the phone was, so we get these offers a lot, right? I get more emails about offers like this than I do, people trying to scam me for, Medicare. This is the new, I get so many of them, and most of them I just don't even pay attention to. But I was like, well, I want to talk to somebody. So I started talking to your team member. I'm like, how does this really work? Because, with my mortgage hat on, your guy was telling me, hey, listen, we're moving this into a trust, and because of that, your guy is not going to have a payment sitting out there affecting his DTI. And I wanted to just, know that I wanted to learn more about how that works and how that would show up. Let's say in 4 months, he does want to buy a house or for some reason is able to. If he's got a loan out there with Wells Fargo or whomever he has a loan with, that loan is still going to be showing on his credit report unless that is refinanced or paid off. So I was just trying to understand how moving it to a trust would change that.
So this is hilarious because he's talking to two agents, but it's almost identical to talking to a seller. When a seller has an objection and you give a picture perfect explanation, and then the next thing you know, you transition the conversation to building some rapport. There's some laughing and joking. There's talking about a completely separate topic, which was the interest rates and the market and property values. And then all of a sudden, here comes the little objection again for a second time. So now Richard's got to go back and overcome the objection for a second time. And basically what I'm hearing with the way that this agent delivered the question is I heard you, but I don't necessarily comprehend what you said. So he's saying, dive a little bit deeper into the explanation, because essentially in this scenario, he has to be the one that delivers exactly how Richard's going to make sure this falls off of their DTI. And so now Richard's got to educate this real estate agent well enough to where now he plays the telephone game and then delivers that answer to the seller. So this is a very critical part in this, because as picture perfect as it's been, if he messes up here, then it kills the whole deal.
Sure. And if you go, so essentially there's a couple things here. The first thing is all those people who are reaching out to you, they're talking about a sub-2 deal. They're talking about purchasing property subject to the existing mortgage. But that's not what we're talking about doing in this one. Rather, we're talking about a partnership with the seller. So this is actually not technically a real estate transaction. It's a transfer of a trust. So a couple things. When you separate the mortgage, the person whose name is on the mortgage, from title, you expose yourself to what's called the due on sale clause. And the loan could be called due. It could be...
That was my concern.
Yeah, the acceleration clause. So our upper hand, our competitive advantage is, hey, why don't we just do a 6-year partnership with the seller, where the seller opens a trust, our guy assists them in opening the trusts and pays for all of the expenses with the trust. They deed the property into the trust, still the owner of it, exact same way that they would transfer property to next of kin, normal asset protection. And then we purchase the majority interest of that trust. Now, the way that this differs from the normal method that you've been pitched is they're actually going to be a part owner of this. Now, we intend to rent this out. They're going to have 10% controlling interest of the trust, and there's not going to be any responsibility, liability, but we keep them on that trust because then they're technically receiving income from the rental, which allows this to come off their debt to income ratio, because a property you have rented out, especially according to the Fanny May selling guide, comes off of the debt to income ratio. So we're proposing a partnership with the trust where we are not exposing the seller to the due on sale clause while also allowing them to go get a new loan.
Wow. Next level right there. Next level explanation. Also very interesting because I've never actually done properties through a trust like this. That's never been something that I've been exposed to or done myself. So this is a whole nother level of being creative with it. It's kind of eye-opening to me, seeing how he willingly brings up the due on sale clause, and then also to overcome the objection of the debt to income. Dude, this is a masterful call here, and now I feel like he has built even more credibility with the agents for them to even be more willing to push to get his offer accepted here. That was amazing.
Okay.
And
that is different from what I've seen in the past.
It's in line with and you may want to write this down, but it's in line with the Garn-Saint Germain Act of 1982. Loans cannot be called due within the trust. But I know I just said a lot of words to you, and it can be simplified by saying, I'm going to have the seller put the property in a trust. I'm going to purchase the controlling interest of the trust, including all responsibility for the property, its mortgage, and then we're going to pay them out on the 6th year. Entire mortgage will be paid off on year 6. They will have really no connection to the property whatsoever at that time.
Right. Okay. During the 6 years, then our seller will also receive a monthly rent amount. Is that true?
Well, on this one, I think we're in a position where we're trying to buy cash flow. So we'll be making about $500 a month on this. And for the $500 a month that we make after covering their mortgage, we're going to go ahead and purchase that for $30,000. So essentially we're buying cash flow. We see it as buying cash flow. So it's kind of like you could ask yourself, if I have $30,000 liquid right now, actually $35 with closing costs, how much am I willing to receive monthly to have that $35 disappear? For us, I'll take $500 monthly, and then the $35's gone from our account. But what we did do to try to combat that is we also wanted to give them the $40,000 on year 6 so they can expect another massive windfall of cash here.
Okay, so they're basically cashing out at the beginning and then at the end, but they're not getting the monthly.
Exactly.
I think it's probably what they need. The other question I had is, what if you're not renting it, or what you said they've got no liability, like if
exactly.
Someone does.
And all of our deals, we have to take 20% off the top because we fully anticipate that it's going to be a couple months before we find a tenant. So we expect to be fronting the payment, and we're happy to provide proof of funds for that as well.
Okay, yeah, that was my other question.
Sure.
Did you have any other questions?
No, I mean, this, I don't know. I feel better about this opportunity than I have some of the other ones that I've heard versus a conventional sale, which, we are still entertaining offers on a conventional sale.
Of course.
Too, but
what's interesting about him saying that the sellers are willing, they're still exploring to get the traditional sell. I mean, doing the math here, they owe $325. It's listed for $350. If they were to sell at $350, I mean, just the $30,000 down is pretty substantially larger than what they would get through a traditional sell. And he did an expert job of explaining how it falls off of their debt to income ratio. I mean, if I'm a seller and I'm presented this, I'm taking this offer because I'm just making more money. I believe, I mean, yeah, because the difference there is 25,000. So even if out of the 30,000, it's paying the real estate commissions, which I don't think we ever covered. I know he's paying the closing costs, but I don't know about the commissions. I'm assuming it's coming out of the 30,000. Even then, they're going to make $5,000 more than what they're making now. If they were to get a full price offer, which is not getting a full price offer. So this is substantially more money for the seller.
This clearly is a better deal than some of the others, which is why I wanted to get on a phone call.
And I appreciate it.
They would like to sell probably sooner. I don't know if you can sell sooner so they can go ahead and get settled where they're going, but they don't want to take their daughter out of school until June, like mid-June. So I guess I was wondering, if you close sooner, could they lease back in 1 month, or could that be rolled into?
Definitely. I will say though, we're probably going to get in to do some cleaning, some renovation. So there's probably going to be guys working around them, and I know that's kind of a hassle. But yeah, that is definitely something that we could do. We could give them, but I'll also say this: if you want to do a 2-month closing, even a 3-month closing, or a 15-day closing, we can do that, because this isn't coming from a lender. This is just funds that we have liquid in the account. So we recently flipped a property in St. Louis. I have to buy something. So I'm okay doing this in 15 days. I'm okay doing this in 2 months, whatever timeline they want. But if it would help, we could get a contract going with an extended closing, allowing them to stay a little bit longer.
Yeah, I don't know. And Jimmy, you know better because you're talking to them on a daily basis. But I'm thinking if we could do probably a 2-month closing, or maybe even 45. So they want to close it.
Again, another expert way. You can see how he was very comfortable there, overcoming the leaseback situation. Ideally, anytime you close on a property, you want the sellers out so you don't have to go into the leaseback situation. That was just a kind of a masterful way of navigating we could do that, or we could just extend the closing out and do a 60-day closing or a 90-day closing. Then that way we don't have to worry about a lease back or anything. And then he kind of also threw in I'm going to have guys doing some work and some renovations. I'm not sure if they would like that or not. Just A+. Love it.
We're really not that far off anyway. Then that might work better for them. Because
totally.
I think at this point, sometimes sellers want to obviously maximize their sales price, but they'll, sometimes timeline is a little bit more important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can leave that up to them whether, they need. So I know he is, making that drive back and forth. And I think the only thing he may consider is, hey, while the family's going to hang back, I think
he can go ahead and
relocating. I think some cash up front to help him go ahead and lease a house or wherever he's going to be. That may be entertaining too. So I guess we'll let him decide.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And then the other thing, guys, I heard you mention a conventional offer. Take the conventional offer if you get it. I totally understand sellers are only doing this if they've failed to get the conventional offer that makes sense for them. So in this scenario, if somebody were to come in with an offer of $350,000, in that scenario, they're probably going to net next to $0 on the sale. But if somebody offers $360, $370, and it's just more convenient for them, no hard feelings. It makes a lot of sense to me. So I totally understand if you guys end up going that route as well.
Yeah, actually, I told Paulina, I said, she and I, if this doesn't sell here in the next few weeks, she and I will just buy it, fix it up, and we'll resell it.
I'm not in Pensacola, but I got a deal in Pensacola today.
Yeah, with them out of the house. I think it's a good option to run by them. It might, like I said, help them get into their new place, and then they just, kind of come out from under this so he can move on with his life. But I think I understand it a lot better now. We can explain it, and then just kind of have them decide, and we'll get back to you.
Yep, that sounds fair.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to shoot you a text from my cell phone. This is actually my company line here. I'll include the acquisitions manager who you spoke to, and let me know if there's any questions you guys have.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Talk soon, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye now.
Yo, no way. No way.
Solid, man. Thank you. That was awesome.
You got, dude.
Hell yeah, Richard.
Man.
Record that, man. Record that.
Dude,
That one, I think that one's in the bag. I think we got that.
dude, that's in the bag. That's in the bag.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the celebration I did. And I have to say, that is one of the best live calls I've ever seen right there. That is one of the best. Richard Taylor, definitely a closer. Loved how comfortable he was. You can see how he's overcome those objections time and time again. He knows exactly what kind of offer he's making, how to present it, how to answer any questions that are revolved around his offer that he's making. And quite frankly, dealing with 2 real estate agents on that, he did a great job of navigating that, making sure that I think they are going to advocate for his offer. And like he said, that's in the bag, and make sure he gets that deal. That was awesome to watch. I have to say, I am so impressed by Richard. This is the first time I've ever seen anything from him before. If anyone knows how to contact him, I'm going to reach out to him through Instagram. I don't know if we're connected on there or not, though. But if anybody knows how to connect with him, or you are in contact with Richard, let him know. I would love to do live seller calls together on this YouTube channel. I'd love to just be able to witness him doing that more. And quite frankly, I want to take a swing at the exact same thing he just did. That looked like a lot of fun. And I loved his strategy there. So great job, Richard. You're definitely a closer. I want to hear from you guys. What did you guys think about Richard's call? Hopefully you feel the same way I feel. That was just a straight banger of a phone call. Let Richard know in the comments what you thought about his call. Make sure you give Richard a like. We'll see you guys tomorrow.